Ramadan 2020, there's no need to be in the hurry. Today, Bismillah Ta'ala, we're talking about the mind, the body, the soul, the heart, the spirit, the psyche, the ego. This is important, Ya Ikhwan. This is important because Allah Ta'ala says, Ya Ikhwan, for the believer, Inna Allah ashtara minal mu'mineen anfusihim. Allah Ta'ala, verily He has purchased from the believers our souls, Ya Ikhwan. So we're talking about al-aql, al-qalb, al-jasam, al-jasad, al-ruh, al-nafs. The mind, the body, the heart, the soul, the spirit, the self, the ego, the transient goals, as some of the psychologists have said. The Muslims have predated some of the non-Muslims in some of these sciences, Ya Ikhwan, as I was doing the research. We're talking about the mental, the spiritual, the emotional, the physical harmony of the individual. And we're at a time right now where they say here in the West, if your head ain't in it, if your mind ain't in it, then you can't win it. If your head ain't in it, if your mind ain't in it, you can't win it. Also they say, my heart ain't in it, how can you start? My heart ain't in it, so how can you start? My soul ain't in it, so how can you get to your goal, Ya Ikhwan? We're looking, Ya Ikhwan, at some of the popular sayings here in the West that are talking about holistic lifestyles, transient goals, Ya Ikhwan, understanding the human connection. This is really important, especially during this month right now, Ramadan 2020. There's no need to be in the hurry. The masjids are locked. So where will you go? You need to go back, Ya Ikhwan, and connect back to Allah Ta'ala. Many people, they're suffering from job stress, financial stress, relationship stress, emotional, physical, non-well-being, Ya Ikhwan, including myself. And there comes a time that you start to hear some voices. But where are these voices coming from? We're talking about the mind, the soul, the body, the natural instinct. We're talking about the intuition. We're talking about the inner guidance system. We're talking about, Ya Ikhwan, the mind, the body, and the soul. So we look at this, we're now trying to pursue what they call soulful pursuits. Sense of purpose. What is our purpose? Why are we here? What's the goal? Where are we headed? Where are we headed, Ya Ikhwan? The voices, they're in my head, they're talking to me. They're telling me I need to be ready this month. I need to do better. I need to try harder. I need to be smarter. I need to be more dedicated. I need to be more inspired. I need to be more giving. I need to be more brotherly. I need to be into the deen more than I ever was. The mind, the body, and the soul. We looked at this situation, my brothers. When you look at it, as Allah Ta'ala says, Inna Allah ashtara minal mu'mineen anfusihim, that verily Allah Ta'ala, He has purchased the souls of the believers. So when you look at it and you study the reality, your life, it does not belong to you. Your life, it does not belong to you. You have been given a short amount of time to be here and to do something with your life. So when we look at the soul, and the scholars, they have a debate between the ruh and the nafs, and that's a long story. And one of the scholars from the past, he had a little explanation, and we're not going to get into it, but basically the ayah, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ, the people came to the Prophet ﷺ and they asked about the ruh. It's a huge discussion, inshallah ta'ala, we'll come back to it. We're talking about the mind, how it works, the memory, the intelligence, the feelings, the emotions, the subconscious, the intuition. Allah Ta'ala says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ, perhaps they may reflect and use their intellect. We have a brain. There's something in our head. It's called a mukh. It's supposed to work. It's not supposed to be shut down. Allah, He gave us a brain, and it is a gift that if you use it properly, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, it will be something of great benefit. The body, it is a vessel for everything. And one of the scholars from the past, he went on to say that within the body, The heart, it is the king, and the limbs are the soldiers. So now we come, inshallah ta'ala, with some factual evidence, some dalil, some hujjaj, some burhan, to show you that the scholars are not just making istinbat and coming up with from nothing. They went, they looked at the kitab and the sunnah, doing tatabbu', istinbat, wa istiqra'. They went and they deduced and they extrapolated and they pulled out from the kitab and the sunnah based upon some ayat from the book of Allah and hadith of the sunnah mutahara, where the Prophet ﷺ wanted to say, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ أَجْسَامِكُمْ وَلَا إِلَى صُوَارِكُمْ وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ قُلُوبِكُمْ وَأَعْمَالِكُمْ. The Prophet ﷺ wanted to say, in this hadith is collected in Sahih Muslim, verily Allah does not look at your bodies, nor does He look at your looks, but He looks at your hearts, and He looks at your deeds. Also, coming back to the ayah we quoted before, the ayah وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلْ الرُّوحِ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي وَمَا أُوتِيتُمْ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَى قَلِيلٍ. And Allah Ta'ala goes on to say concerning the Sahaba, and they ask you, Muhammad Sallallahu concerning the ruh, the spirit. Say the ruh is one of the things that complete ilm is only with my Lord, and the ilm that mankind you have been given, it is only but a little. Many people, they try in this society to try, if they do believe in God, they try to think, well, how is God? But the question has come before, if you try to just understand what the ruh, what the soul was, never could you do it, because this knowledge is only with Allah. Coming back, ya ikhwan, the body, the mind, the soul, what is the final goal? The soul, it has a goal, ya ikhwan. وقال الله تعالى وَاذْكُرْ رَبَّكَ فِي نَفْسِكَ. Allah Ta'ala goes on to say, remember your Lord inwardly. This is the time, if not throughout all the rest of the month, ya ikhwan, it's time for us to make some self-analyzation, some self-introspection, some self-dedication to look to see how horrible of a Muslim have we been since last Ramadan. How many sins have I committed? Too many to count. How many things have I been guilty of doing? Too many to count. How many things I should have been grateful for and I wasn't grateful? Too many to count. So we need, ya ikhwan, some nutrition, some physical, to be physically fit, to be rested. We need stress management. Many people are complaining of serious problems, health problems, mental problems, psychological problems. We need a Ramadan that will put us back together, because we have been broken down by many of the sins that we commit. We're talking about the mind, the body, the soul. What's the final goal? The mind, the body, the soul. What's the final goal? So many of us, we have to understand, and it's a huge topic, but we just want to hint and to pinpoint some things for us to sit and to think about, to make tafakkur and to dabbur and to think and to go and to do our own research when we have some time. We talked about the nafs, and there's many nafs, but the main thing we want to talk about is an-nafsu la amaratu bisu, the nafs that urges us to do evil. And my nafs is always urging me to do evil, whether it's to say something bad, to look at something bad, to think something bad. Constantly I need to repair and to work on this. Also there is the nafs al-lawwama, the soul, the nafs that blames itself. Also the nafs al-lawwama, we need to work on this, the nafs that is peaceful. This is something that me and you brothers, we need to try to look upon. Also, ya ikhwan, we realize that people, they suffer from stress and anxiety, depression, and one of the biggest things that the people are suffering from right now, I see this right in front of my eyes, is people having the fear of the future. What will the future hold? People are fearful from that. Also, some of the youth and even some of the adults, fear of boredom. I'm bored. Well, get up and take a broom and clean up the house, alhamdulillah. Get up and go for a walk and get some exercise. Don't be bored. There's too much to do. Also, people have problems with low self-esteem. Many people these days, when they look in the mirror or when they sit and think about themselves, they say to themselves that they have low self-esteem. They don't think very highly of themselves. So if we see people like that, we need to come to them and give them a pat on the back and say, hey, I believe in you. I believe in you. You're a soldier. You're a conqueror. You're a king. You're a queen. You can do many things. My son, I call him the champ. Since he was young, I call him the champ. I call one of my daughters the magnificent, and my other daughter, I call her the conqueror. These are self-encouraging words to try to bring up the psyche, the spirit of the people. And also people that are living unhappily with the life that they have, thinking that their life is so bad. But when we would compare our life with some of the Muslims in Bangladesh, or some of the Muslims in Yemen, or some of the Muslims in Palestine, or some of the Muslims fi kulli makan, in the places the Muslims are suffering, we realize that we have a good life. We're talking about the universal intelligence, ya ikhwan. The non-Muslims, they call it the universal intelligence. This is Allahu Rabbul Izzah. And they talk about how things are supposed to be mapped out. This is called the qadar. When I was comparing what the Muslims have to say and what the non-Muslims have to say, those intellectuals, we find that many of the things that they're trying to come up with, they're getting it from Islamic sources. So we look at the situation, we are talking about the mind, the body, the soul. What is the goal? Alhamdulillah. All praise is due to Allah who guided all of us to this Islam. Truly, if Allah didn't guide all of us to this Islam, we wouldn't be from amongst those that have been guided. Now I myself, I grew up in a non-Muslim family, and Allah, He guided me. And I don't know why He guided me to Islam, but it is the greatest ni'mah that I have. I do not have a lot of possessions. I own a car, I own some shoes, I own some books, but the thing that I'm trying to hold on to and own it is my deen. My deen. And as the Prophet said, Al-Qabid ala dinihi kal-Qabid ala jamra. The holding on to Islam, holding on to this deen would be like holding on to a hot coal. So when we look at this situation, we want to talk about something which is really precious. We want to talk about richness. We want to talk about belonging. As the Prophet said, Laysa ghina an kathratul ard walakin al-ghina ghani an-nafs. Contentment. We want to talk about, ya ikhwan, that richness is not having many belongings, but richness is the richness of the soul. This is something we need to repair our mind, our heart, and our soul. And in this month right now, many people have been waiting for this boot camp. And for those that don't know what a boot camp is, a boot camp is supposed to get you into shape. Whether it is a mental boot camp, you go and you take some courses, or it is a physical boot camp, you go and you get your body in better shape. We are now in the spiritual boot camp. It's called Ramadan. We have reached Ramadan 2020. No need to be in a hurry. The Prophet ﷺ went on to say, Ala wa inna fi jasad mudgha idha salahat salahat jasadu kulluh wa idha fasadat fasada jasadu kulluh ala wa hiya al-qalb. This hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. We all know this hadith. We've heard it 1,000 times, but it's time for us now to hear it in our heart, to hear it in our soul, besides just hearing it in our ears. There lies within the body. There lies within the body, and the word body was used in this hadith 3 times. We're talking about the mind, the body, and the soul. The word jasad is used 3 times. The Prophet emphasized it. There lies within the body a morsel of flesh. If it is upright, the whole body is upright. And if it is corrupt, the whole body is corrupt. And verily that is the heart. We need to clean our hearts. We need to clean our hearts. I need to clean my heart. You need to clean your heart. When you see your Muslim brother or your Muslim sister, stop walking around with a mean mug, as they say. A mean mug. There's a lot of Muslims walking around, and when they see the other Muslims, they're walking around with a mean mug. Smile at your brother. Turn that frown upside down, as they say. Allah Ta'ala goes on to say, Ala bi dhikrillah tatma'inul qulub. Verily, in the remembrance of Allah, do the hearts find the rest. We're talking about al-aqal. We're talking about al-qalb. We're talking about al-nafs. We're talking about al-ruh. We're talking about al-jasad. We're talking about the qulub, ya ikhwan. Mind, the body, the soul. What's the final goal? Coming to conclusion, my dear brothers, we're looking at the mind, the body, the soul. What's the ultimate goal? We find that Allah Ta'ala goes on to say, وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي, concerning the Muslims, وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي إِنَّ النَّفْسُ لَأَمَّارَةُ بِسُوءٍ إِلَى مَرَاهِمَ رَبِّي إِنَّ رَبِّي غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Verily, Allah Ta'ala goes on to say, I do not force myself to blame, for indeed the soul is inclined to do evil, except if my Lord, He has mercy on me, He is the most merciful. وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِسُوءٍ إِلَّا مَا رَحِمَ رَبِّي إِنَّ رَبِّي غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. We're talking about captured thoughts. When I had the opportunity to look at this information, I found that Ibn Jawzi, he talked about the mind, he talked about the hearts, he talked about the spirit in great detail throughout his book. Many chapters of there, he has little small headings talking about the intellect. He has many chapters talking about the heart. He has many chapters talking about the body for those that want to go and look further. And what is the final goal? The final goal is to return to Allah. Irji'i ila rabbika radiyatin mardiyya. Return to your Lord. Return to your Lord well pleased, and hopingly that He'll be pleased with us. With that, my dear brothers, we pray that Allah Azza wa Jal helps us to figure out that it's time that games are over, and it's time to get serious. It's time to hamper down and to be good Muslims, and to get our connection, our ilaqa, back with Rabbul Izzah. Alhamdulillah, we say astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. We ask Allah to forgive us. May Allah protect the Muslims and safeguard the Muslims and forgive the Muslims and unite the Muslims and allow the Muslims to fall back in love with the Book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to walk upon the footsteps of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and to make sincere tawbah during this month for all the sins, as we know that the gates of Jannah are open, and who will take benefit from that. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.